It's 6 o'clock.
The main purpose of Russian media's misinformation is to distract from what is really happening in Ukraine and what happened before in the Crimea. This was the message delivered by former Russia Today anchor Elizabeth Wall, who resigned last year in protest during a live show.
Behind the deliberately confusing rhetoric were essential facts. Russia had invaded a sovereign country and was lying about it.
Russian President Vladimir Putin dismisses any suggestion of lying. He blames the downing of the Malaysian airliner in Ukraine and continuing fighting there on U.S. and NATO interference. Mr. Putin is spending an estimated $600 million annually to consolidate his power at home and to divide societies abroad, according to the House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Ed Royce.
This Russian propaganda has the potential to destabilize NATO members, and it could impact our security commitments, especially if we look at some of what's going on in the Baltic states.
The propaganda campaign to distort the realities in Ukraine makes a lot of sense from Russia's perspective, says Peter Pomerantsev.
NATO is undefeatable on the battlefield. The West has a much stronger social and political system, democracy based on openness and competition. But what if the Kremlin could bypass NATO militarily? Make war without ever officially at least firing a shot? What if it could use the very openness of democracies, open markets, open culture, and very importantly, open information against us?
Some lawmakers and experts at the hearing called on the U.S. to do more to counter Russia's propaganda. Helly Dale of the Heritage Foundation.
Well, the United States is trying to ramp up a communication strategy to deal with this. However, after the fall of the Soviet Union, we pretty much disarmed ourselves in this information competition or battle for hearts and minds in Russia, in its neighboring countries, in Europe. We thought that we had won the ideological war, and therefore we didn't need to focus on communication as much as we used to.
Andre Mendez, the acting CEO of the Broadcasting Board of Governors, which oversees the Voice of America, said some recent efforts by the board to boost coverage to Russian speakers were overlooked at the hearing.
The BBG shares the committee's concerns about the intensification of Russian propaganda and is responding with a flexible, innovative, aggressive, multimedia campaign aimed at Russians and Russian speakers, both in the former Soviet Union, in Europe, as well as the rest of the world.
Chairman Royce said he will reintroduce legislation to reform U.S. international broadcasting. Outgoing VOA Director David Enzer has cautioned that the VOA Charter, which ensures fair, objective, and accurate reporting, must be protected during any reforms. Cindy Saine, VOA News on Capitol Hill.